Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Commanding General of the 1st Marine Division, Major General Thomas B. Savage, welcome and thank you for joining us as we celebrate the founding of our nation. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the Operations Officer of the 1st Marine Division Band, Warrant Officer Sean Salazar. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. As we reflect on the words of Francis Scott Key, we are reminded that the spirit of our anthem lives not only in history, but in the responsibility we share to remain worthy of the land of the free and the home of the brave. America's story is one of courage, but it is also one of innovation. In 1924, a young composer named George Gershwin asked a bold question. What if the soulful language of jazz and blues, the music of everyday Americans, could be presented in the grandeur of a symphony? The answer, Rhapsody in Blue. It wasn't just a new piece of music, it was a new idea. American music didn't have to choose between the dance hall and the concert hall. It could be both. Sophisticated, yet playful. Emotional, yet full of swagger. Tonight, we perform this iconic work as a concert wind band. Like Gershwin's music, the American wind band itself is a product of innovation, evolving from its military roots on the marching field into the versatile ensemble that you see here tonight. Please welcome Staff Sergeant Victor Iannelli from the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band on piano as we present Rhapsody in Blue. The Battle of Midway in 1942 is widely regarded as the turning point of World War II in the Pacific. At the time, Japan was rapidly expanding across the region, but through critical intelligence breakthroughs, American forces were able to anticipate and intercept Japan's tactical movements. In a decisive series of carrier-based airstrikes, U.S. naval forces sank several Japanese aircraft carriers, including ships that had taken part in the attack on Pearl Harbor. That victory halted Japan's advance and shifted the momentum of the war. Legendary American composer John Wiliams later captured the spirit of that moment in his score for the 1976 film, Midway. It is our pleasure to welcome to the stage the officer in charge of Marine Band San Diego, Chief Warrant Officer Megan Harper, as we present Midway March. As a young boy, Karl Kyne left school and began working to earn money for his first instrument, a euphonium. With little formal instruction, he taught himself to play and compose music. By the time he was 20 years old, he was already leading American bands. Karl Kyne would go on to write hundreds of marches, many for circus bands. One of his most famous works is the Melody Shop, composed in 1910 when he was only 19 years old. This march features one of the most technically demanding euphonium parts in the entire band repertoire. Tonight, we are proud to feature our euphonium section, Sergeant Victor Tran of Marine Band San Diego, Sergeant Rico Knight, and Corporal Casey Tran of 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band, and finally, Sergeant Nathan Heed of the 1st Marine Division Band. Please enjoy the Melody Shop. Few melodies capture the American spirit quite like America the Beautiful. The music by Samuel Augustus Ward and the lyrics by Catherine Lee Bates came together to form what many have called a hymn, a prayer, and even the heartbeat of a nation set to music. Although the composer and lyricist never met, Their creation continues to inspire unity, reflection, and pride across generations. Tonight, this arrangement by Carmen Dragon features vocalists from across our West Coast Marine Corps bands. Sergeant Elizabeth Marino of Marine Band San Diego. Sergeant Casey Wagner and Sergeant Julia West of 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band. And finally, Corporal Eleanor Cherico of the 1st Marine Division Band. And now, America the Beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take a brief intermission. Please take this time to check out the lobby and feel free to speak to some of our Marines out there. You can also find more information about our future performances at music.marines.mil. The concert will resume in approximately 15 minutes. Thank you. we continue this evening's program, we now turn to one of the most solemn and recognizable musical traditions in our nation's history. For more than 160 years, the haunting melody of taps has echoed across our nation. Those 24 notes mark the close of a day, the end of a life, and the final rest of those who have served. Today, taps remains one of the most powerful musical traditions in the United States military. Heard at funerals, memorial services, and moments of national remembrance. Under the direction of Chief Warrant Officer Mardia Tompo, officer in charge of the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band, it is our privilege to offer this musical tribute as a reflection of our nation's enduring gratitude. Also, please welcome Sergeant Riley Cunning from the 1st Marine Division Band, Sergeant Patrick Jensen from the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band, and Corporal Jacob Daniels from Marine Band San Diego. We would now like to present taps for 3 solo trumpets and wind band by Julie Giroux. From the trenches of Belleau Wood and the black sands of Iwo Jima, to the bitter cold of the Chosin Reservoir and the dense jungles of Khe Sanh, the call to defend freedom has been answered with courage and sacrifice. The legacy of those who have served is not just an abstract idea. It lives in the freedoms that we enjoy, the opportunities we pursue, and the strength of character that defines our nation. Military musicians carry a unique responsibility to preserve that tradition, honor sacrifice, and to ensure that the stories of those who have served are never forgotten.
Now, we would honor those who gave their lives in service to our nation with our performance of Symphony Number 1, For the Fall. the Star-Spangled Banner became our official national anthem, America had several patriotic songs that captured the spirit of the nation. One of the most beloved was My Country, 'Tis of Thee. In 2013, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Nowlin of the United States Marine Band created a stirring arrangement titled Let Freedom Ring, which was performed at the second inauguration of President Barack Obama. Inspired by the lyric, Land Where My Fathers Died, Nowlin dedicated the arrangement to his grandfathers who served in World War II. Help me welcome to the stage the officer in charge of the 1st Marine Division Band, Captain Eric Kyne. At this time, we would like to recognize the men and women who have served in the United States Armed Forces. As we celebrate the 250th anniversary of our nation, we remember that this milestone would not be possible without the dedication and sacrifice of those who have worn the uniform. If you have served or currently serving, we ask that you please stand when your service song is played so that we may recognize and thank you for your service to our nation. Since 1775, uncommon valor has been a common virtue in the United States Marine Corps. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we are prepared both mentally and physically to defend our nation wherever we are taken. We fight our country's battles in the air, on land, and sea. We stand firmly dedicated to the belief that someone must always know how. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud of the readiness entrusted to us, and we pledge to adhere to the standards of excellence expected of us. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. we are few in number, but many in ability, skill, and professionalism. We welcome the challenge, and we challenge those who would join our ranks. United States Marines.
I hope you all don't mind if I cut in on this dance real quick. I hope you're all having a great evening, yeah? So there's a few people, a few Marine sailors I absolutely need to thank before we push on this concert anymore. Obviously, I'd love to publicly thank Marine Band San Diego, Chief Warrant Officer Harper, who's out there, 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing, and Chief Warrant Officer Mardia Tompo, fantastic leaders. I'd also especially like to thank their leadership, Sir General Brody. There he is, right there. We absolutely could not do this performance without them. And there's one individual that I'd really like to pick on. Warrant Officer Salazar, are you out there? Here he comes. This is all his fault. This is his idea. We wouldn't be doing this thing without his brainchild. And honestly, he wouldn't be here if it weren't for his lovely parents up here in the box. All the way from Florida, thank you so much for coming out. And of course, the officer comes up with the idea, and then the Marines, the enlisted guys, have to follow through. So I'd absolutely love to recognize Staff Sergeant Linekamp, if you could stand up real quick. He did all the dirty work, so thank you, Staff Sergeant Linekamp. You know, as the audience, you see us in uniforms, you see us with our instruments. The general, he sees the Navy Marine Corps, the blue-green team working together, you know, absolutely doing what we need to be doing. But I'd also like to give you some background on some of these Marines and sailors that you see ahead of you. And in fact, a few of these uniforms aren't like the others. Sailors, if you don't mind standing to be acknowledged real fast. So, if you could please remain standing. These sailors are from Navy Band Southwest. Chief Smouse, absolutely have to thank you so much for everything that your team brought to the fight. Really appreciate you. And it is a family affair though, because we have MU3's definition up front. Do you mind waving to the audience? Nicholas' definition, if you could stand up in the back right there, you heard him, he's your biggest fan. You won't miss him because he's like 8 feet tall. So we appreciate you guys, thanks so much. And in fact, Sergeant's definition and any other military musicians that might be sprinkled throughout the audience, if you don't mind all standing to be recognized, I know we have a few of you out there. Incognito. Some of those Marines and sailors, they might actively be serving, they might have already done their time, and a big thing about the military is bringing back better people into the service, or back into the civilian sector. I'd also like to share a story with you. I'm not going to have you stand just yet, so please remain seated. Quick anecdote. This group of Marines and sailors, they've had less than 3 rehearsals to get together, right? So, really interesting group. I was traveling down to 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing to rehearse their band, and there's this really amazing soloist that I'm here, doing his thing. I can feel his aura. I was like, wow, this guy's incredible. Like, what a talented musician, right? The next week, I got down to Marine Band San Diego, and I was like, wait a minute, I just saw you at the other band. What's going on? This guy's just so dedicated, motivated. He's going from band to band to rehearse. I was like, I didn't ask any questions, but I was like, yeah, this guy's awesome. He's everywhere, right? And then I see the 2 of them together. If the Tran brothers could please stand up. So one of them was not enough, they had to do 2, and it's awesome. We're blessed for it. Thank you guys so much, Victor and Casey, you guys sound incredible. You heard him on the euphonium solo, so thanks again, gentlemen. And of course, I gotta embarrass this guy, Staff Sergeant Iannelli, fantastic piano soloist you heard earlier. So sometimes the Marine Corps gets it right. I've known this Marine ever since he was a wee little devil pup. I've seen him grow throughout the Marine Corps. I even saw his hip-hop career, but for a little bit too. But this Marine is selected for Gunnery Sergeant. That's incredible. The Marine Corps is only so big, Marine musicians are even smaller, it's even that much harder to make a Gunnery Sergeant in the Marine Corps band, so great job, Staff Sergeant Iannelli. And it's the last time you'll be seeing him in those E6 chevrons, and unfortunately, it is also the last time you'll be seeing some of these Marines on stage. It's their final performances over here. So if this is your last concert performance in this unit, or even in the Marine Corps, if you could please stand. You know who you are. Stay standing. So you got Sergeant Mentzer on flute, absolutely talented individual. We worked together in the Marine Forces Reserve Band out in New Orleans. It's an absolute treat. She got to see my daughter grow up a little bit. I know, Aaliyah, you're in the audience somewhere here. Hopefully you remember her. Oh, there she is. You found her. And then we also have Gunnery Sergeant Tim Mullimans. We also got to work together his first time through with the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band. Another super talented individual. He's the instrument repair technician for the band, right? So, simply, he fixes the stuff we break. But really, if you look into it, he's managing the funds. The band cannot operate without this gentleman right here. He's going on to Wisconsin, yes? He's going back to the civilian sector. So another hand for these 2 individuals. And I got to brag on my instrument repair technician, Gunny Aguirre, if you could stand up. Yeah. So Gunny Mulliman leaves, and now he's got to take his spot, and I lose my guy. So, but it's great that we have this talent all throughout the Marine Corps. Who else do I have to talk about? Gunnery Sergeant Palmer, our narrator, our drum major. Sir, 3rd Maw stealing all my guys. He's going to 3rd Maw as well too, so he's going to crush it out there. And if this is your first evening concert with the Marine Corps, if you could please stand. Even sailors do, I don't think there is any case, but yeah, Tavares, I see you, Owen. Yeah, they're shy, this is their first time. You'll notice some things on their, their uniforms. They've got rifle marksmanship. You've got all these different ribbons and badges. Thanks, guys. You can be seated. So some things to think about. We're at the 1st Marine Division Band. Some of our Marines over here. Some of our guys are actually out overseas as we speak right now. So we couldn't have done this without the other units. And we have a handful taking off. Yeah, let's do it. Trevino, Wiles. I'm trying to keep it at the not classified level. But Trevino, Wiles, we can stand. And Warrant Officer Salazar. I'm not going to tell you where and when they're going, but they're going to take care of business. Appreciate you, gentlemen. And of course, I've got to thank the folks in our audience. You know, all these folks are volunteers. They serve in this capacity, but we have folks that volunteer and serve in the audience as well. If you are a military sponsor, volunteer, USO, you know, host city, I know we have Laguna Niguel, Mission Viejo. Even if you don't stand up, or it's hard to see you all, I just want to thank you from the bottom of our heart for taking care of us. You know, these folks are serving, but they get paid to do it, which is pretty nice. You guys are serving from the bottom of your hearts, volunteers, and we really appreciate you so much. And thank you. And there would be no show if it wasn't for the lovely California Center for the Arts here in Escondido. Thank you so much for hosting us. The stagehands, the sound technicians, Benjamin Mann, who really put together, and Stephanie Vasquez, if you happen to be around. We'll call you up to the stage real quick. There she is, Stephanie. On behalf of the Marines and seller of this West Coast Composite band, we got a little gift for you. This is where you go ooh and ah. Obligatory message to scan the QR code outside, follow us on social media, you know, keep on track with us. If you love the show, please fill out that survey. If you didn't love the show, okay, anyways, how about one more? One more tune, is that
okay? And finally, no Marine Band concert would be complete without our national march, the Stars and Stripes Forever. Feel free to clap along as we close out the night in true American style. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending your evening with us. It truly means a lot to share this with you. Enjoy the rest of the evening and safe travels home.
Thank you.